What's going on, people? We're live back again for another podcast, but this time this is a little bit different. We're going to be breaking down the Dana White's Contender Series card, which actually goes down later on tonight. But we have a lot of time. I think it's 12 p.m. ET time right now, and or it might be 1 p.m., but it doesn't go down for another 7 hours. The fight starts at 7 p.m. PT or ET, one of them. 7 hours until the fight. So, I wanted to do this yesterday, but I was super tired yesterday after I did Clint's podcast, so I didn't have time. And I still had one or two more fights to tape. So, we're here now. Speaking of being tired doing Clint's podcast yesterday, I don't know if anyone here was live yesterday when I did Clint's podcast, but it was funny as fuck. I rewatched it today, the last 10 minutes. And the reason I did that is because I was super, super tired yesterday. I ended up staying up to 3 a.m. to do the podcast. And, if you've been following me, I've been traveling a lot lately. I was all over America. I was in Vegas for a month. I was in Florida, Miami, New York, many places in America. Before that, I was in Thailand training for 2 months. And before that, I was in Aussie. So I've been doing a lot of traveling. So yesterday, I was super jet lagged and I had to stay up to 3 a.m. to do the podcast. And by the end of the podcast, I was literally falling asleep. I remember being here on this sofa, falling asleep. Like legit, I had to keep my eyes open like that while Clint was talking. I was falling asleep. And I didn't know how it came across, so I rewatched it earlier today, and I was laughing, man. I was literally watching it, laughing because like I can't keep my eyes open. My eyes are falling. I'm yawning like every 2 seconds. It looks like I'm fucking bored of what Clint's saying, but yeah, it definitely wasn't that. It was just because I was super tired, so that was funny. But hopefully, I still gave out some good picks, still gave out some good predictions. But I ain't tired now, and I had a good night's sleep. I went to sleep straight after that 3 a.m. podcast, and I'm back now, boys. So, we'll get straight into the fights. I will say shout out to all of my chat, though. We got Oluwajin, Dream here, Snap is Mikey. Yeah, 12 hours later, and we're back. I've been traveling a lot, but I still technically am traveling. I'm not in New Zealand right now, but I am in some form of routine, some form of flow. So you can expect a lot more content from me. Okay, it's 1 p.m., 8 p.m. the fight. So yeah, you got 7 hours, boys, to get these bets in, etc., etc. What's going on, Gerardo? We got King Eddie saying, James, we need a max play soon. Yeah, we definitely need a max play. Oluwaju saying, I thought you were the dude trying to break the world record for staying up. It was kind of funny. Yeah, that was hilarious, man. Shout out Small World Lifters. He's talking about Lona Kavanagh. He knows him since 2019 personally. Yeah, he's a fucking good fighter, man. And we'll get into that right now. Yeah, so let's get straight into it, boys. What's the first fight of the night? I'm just going to do a quick stream. I probably won't be speaking about these fights for too long. I got a jam-packed day today. It's already been jam-packed. I've already locked in a lot of my bets, sent them out to my members about 20 minutes ago. So yeah, I'll just get the card up on my phone and we'll get straight into it. So the first fight of the night is Lona Kavanagh versus Antuan Ho. This is a great fight. It's honestly, it's probably the best fight on the card. It's very strange that they're starting off with the best fight on the card. If anything, this should be the main event. But it is what it is. It's Contender Series. I would say that this could be the best fight on the card. Definitely a very good fight, man. Both fighters are primarily strikers. Both fighters are good level. Both fighters are 6-0. Both fighters are undefeated in the professional scene. Ho is actually undefeated throughout his career lifetime in MMA. He's never lost an MMA fight. I think he went something like 6-0 on the amateur scene. Now he's 6-0 on the pro scene, something like that. Lona Kavanagh is a little bit different. He's actually got a couple of losses on the amateur scene and some draws as well, and like a no contest. So, he's got a couple of wins, but he's got a bunch of losses as well. The thing about that is if you look at these losses, you look at the date they happened, they're very, very long time ago. Obviously, when he was an amateur fighter. And something to note is that his first ever fight was his amateur debut, and it was in 2013. Well, he's 25 years old now in 2024. So according to that, he was 14 years of age when he made his amateur debut, and he lost that fight, right? And a couple of the losses are like when he's 15, 16. So complete pass that we give him for that. He's developed into a very good fighter, fighting out a Great Britain top team. Very good fighter, man. Very slick striker, powerful. He can get caught because he's very comfortable in striking range, so he definitely can get cracked. But He's a very good striker. He definitely can be hit. He can be wobbled. He can be dropped, but his recoverability is very quick. I've never seen him hurt, although I've seen him dropped many times. So that's something to note as well. A lot of times you don't see fighters dropped, but you see them hurt. Maybe they get wobbled on the feet or something like that. Elvis Brenner is kind of similar to that, right? I don't know if I've actually seen Elvis Brenner dropped before. Maybe he was like wobbled and then he dropped to a knee or something, but I don't think I've seen him cleanly dropped off his feet. But then I've seen him rocked on the feet like 100 different times, right? Whereas Lona Kavanagh, I don't think I've actually seen him hurt that bad, but I've seen him drop many times. So, that's something to note of. He's got very good recoverability, but he can be caught lacking on the feet. And Tuan Ho, again, very good striker, more of a karate base, whereas Lona's more of a, he times his shots well. He's more of a Muay Thai striker, I would say, similar to Nathaniel Wood. He fights out of Great Britain top team, which is the is with Nathaniel Wood out there. The same camp as Nathaniel Wood. And to be honest, they look like each other in a way. They move like each other. They do a few things like each other. Very good Muay Thai style. But Tuan Ho is more of a karate fighter, right? He's bouncing in and out of range. Very, very heavy-handed. So is Lona. They're both very heavy-handed, to be honest. They've both got good power. I would say Tuan looks a little bit stronger, but, maybe Kavanagh has that athleticism advantage. I mean, they're both very athletic. Like, this is a very, very closely lined fight. It's not one of those ones where I can talk about heavy differences on both fighters. I mean, even if a fighter is better in some regard, it's not going to be that much, Like, yeah, maybe Tuan might be a little bit more athletic in the grappling, but it's like by 5% or something. Maybe Tuan's got a little bit more power, but, it might be like 10% or something. I think both of these fighters are very well matched. So when you get a very well matched set of fighters, usually you see if there's an underdog line that you can play, right? Because I'm basically calling it a 50-50. And at the moment, Ho is 50. Ho is plus 130. So, he's the underdog. He was actually a much bigger underdog. I think it was plus 200 at some point. These Cage Warriors fighters often get a little bit hyped up coming into the UFC for whatever reason. I don't know what it is. I think it's something to do with the English. Obviously, England is like a big country in the world. A lot of people look to English culture in general, not just MMA. And so maybe that has something to do with it. They see these English fighters, these Cage Warriors fighters, and they get a little bit more hyped up than some other regional organizations that may even be higher quality. Cage Warriors is a very good quality regional scene. I like Cage Warriors. They do things well. They're very official. A lot of the fighters end up going to the UFC. I like Cage Warriors, but we've seen time and time again, the fighters coming in off Cage Warriors don't do that well in the UFC. Every now and then we get an Anderson Silva. Every now and then we get a Conor McGregor. But for the most part, they don't do that great. We've seen Jake Hadley come into the UFC, not do that well. We've seen Callan Loughran come into the UFC, not do that well. Justin Burlinson was a 9-0 undefeated fighter who ended up getting finished on the Contender Series, didn't make it. We had the other dude who fought El Sawawi. I can't remember his name, George something, I believe. He was minus 400. And he had his Contender Series fight, minus 400, didn't win the fight. So there's just something that there's some form of disconnect with these Cage Warriors fighters. I don't know what it is, but yeah, they don't seem to perform as well as maybe they look. But that's neither here or there. Yeah, I like the underdog in this fight simply because he's the underdog. I think this is a dog or pass. I don't think you can play Kavanagh at minus 160 range just because it's going to be a close fight. Even if he wins, he's not going to blow him out of the water. I don't think he's going to look minus 200, minus 233. Maximum he probably ever looks is minus 200. Even if he knocks him out early, I wouldn't say he's minus 500 because, early knockouts can happen. Ho looks very, very durable. Looks probably a little bit more durable. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Ho here. But, man, this is a very close fight. The next fight is Delgado versus Juarez. I think it might be Jose Delgado there. It's not showing up. Yeah, it is Jose Delgado versus Ernie Juarez. And, yeah, Juarez is fighting out the Nate Diaz Stockton camp. And, he embodies that Stockton spirit, which is walk forward into range, tough as a motherfucker, great cardio, never stop fighting. And yeah, my man Oluwajan saying it was George Hardwick. Exactly. George Hardwick comes in as a minus 400 from Cage Warriors, ends up dropping the bag. We actually bet on his opponent, Salawi, to win via decision at plus 1,000. So, fading these Cage Warriors fighters, even though they look very good, and I do think they are a good skill set, can be profitable. So maybe that's something to keep in note here. But yeah, as I was saying, back to Juarez. He's a Stockton fighter, 209 fighter, going to come forward, very strong fighter. He's good. He's a well-rounded fighter. Mostly he likes to strike. From what I've seen, he defends takedowns and tries to sprawl and brawl. But he is very fast at taking the back. So oftentimes he'll sprawl, jump straight to the back, and then he starts engaging in the grappling. But I haven't seen too often where he's the one getting takedowns. He will shoot takedowns. Let me make it clear. I've seen him shoot many takedowns, but for the most part, he's defending takedowns because he's got quite a lot of power on the feet. So he's hurting these guys, and he's very physical. So he's walking forward. He's quite strong, but he's there to be hit. He doesn't move his head that well. I've seen him wobbled. I've seen him cracked. I've seen him wrestle out of desperation. And I do feel like that's going to happen here. Delgado is definitely the better striker. He's the much cleaner striker. He's more of an aggressive striker. And I think he just has way more tools in his skill set. I mean, Delgado can throw 50 strikes, 50 different strikes. You're talking wheel kicks, left hooks, uppercuts, whereas Juarez probably can throw about 15 strikes, So there's definitely a big discrepancy in the toolbox, at least in the striking toolbox of these two fighters. But it doesn't mean that Juarez is that outmatched because, I do think he makes up for it on cardio, tenacity, pace, and mindset and will to win. Delgado's a massive favorite here. I definitely make him the favorite. Would I make him that big a favorite? I probably wouldn't make him that big a favorite. So, there's probably some objective line value on Ernie Juarez here because if Delgado don't get him out in round 1, 7.5 minute mark, I do think that Juarez may be able to turn the tide a little bit and start to get his game going. Will he win? I don't know. But will he have more success late? I think probably. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Delgado here. I think he's going to be doing enough to either finish Juarez early or just do more damage on his way to a decision win. Because at the end of the day, Delgado's not a flake. He's not a guy that's going to break. He's tough himself. He can get takedowns himself. I've seen time and time again, Juarez, he gets taken down to his back and he can't get up, man. He can't get up. And although Juarez is probably going to be the one shooting a bit more takedowns in this fight, just because I think Delgado's going to be having his way on the feet early, I will say that Delgado has sneaky wrestling path here. So if he shoots a takedown, he may just ride out the entire round. Whereas if Juarez gets on top, I feel like Delgado will make his way back to the feet. It might not be instantly, but he's probably got a better path at making his way back to the feet here. So I understand Delgado a favorite. I understand Delgado a decently big favorite, but I would say that it's going a bit crazy at minus 300 there. But I'm going to call Delgado win. Maybe I'm going to say decision. I know it's a bit of a crazy take because I think goes to decision is something crazy like plus 180. But, Juarez is a very tough guy. And I think Juarez is going to get hurt a couple of times, but I think he's going to make it to decision. That's, I'm not super confident in this. This is kind of just my prediction rather than my confident betting take. But yeah, I do see the fight go into decision. Next fight is Bruno Lopez versus Mikel Sazian. I don't even know what you want to call it. Sazianini. I don't want to spend too long on this one, guys, because I don't have a strong take. Bruno Lopez is being brought back into the Dana White's Contender Series after dropping the ball last time. He got knocked out against Brendan Ribeiro in round 1 as like a minus 600 favorite. Again, he's a big favorite here. Not 600 because people have learned their lesson, but around 200, maybe like 250. I think some money came in on Mikel. Actually, no. Bruno Lopez has been getting bet up. I think Bruno Lopez has the wrestling upside here. I think Bruno Lopez can even crack him on the feet. But Bruno Lopez is not a guy that you can trust, Time and time again, this guy has big grappling upside. And what does he do? He doesn't shoot takedowns. There's nothing more annoying as a gambler than when you play a fighter because he's got grappling upside and he doesn't shoot takedowns. There's nothing more annoying than that. Like Carl Williams last week, right? I didn't bet on Carl Williams, but, he had grappling upside against Denise, massive grappling upside. We saw it in the 3rd round. As soon as he shot a takedown, he dominated the fight, was landing big shots on the ground, right? Didn't even just take him down, but he won the round and landed big shots on the ground. So he had massive grappling upside over Denise. That fight is a massively winnable fight for him. and he just doesn't shoot for the first 2 rounds. Now, I was speaking to my boy Clint yesterday, and he was saying something like he's heard a few fighters like Makayev say that, he's not, the UFC are telling him don't wrestle. The UFC are telling fighters these days, don't wrestle. We want it to be exciting. Go out there and strike. And maybe Carl Williams fell victim of that, because I did see a post on Twitter where someone said, the UFC told Carl Williams to not wrestle. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did see the post. Makayev apparently come out and said it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's true. Are they telling people in Dana White's Contender Series that? I don't know. Is Lopez going to make the same mistake as he made last time out? Definitely possible. And the reason is because I think that's just embedded into him, because nobody told him not to wrestle last Contender Series. I'm pretty sure of that. He didn't wrestle, got knocked out. Nobody told him to not wrestle in his last fight. He had massive grappling upside on the guy he fought last time on the regional scene. After his Contender Series fight, he had a fight on the regional scene. And the guy's just standing and banging with him, right? He's putting himself in danger, and he could have lost that fight because of the way he fought it. Eventually, he ended up getting a takedown in round 2 and submitting the guy, but he could have done that in round 1. So it seems embedded into his spirit that sometimes he just wants to stand and bang. And it's probably not going to be a good idea, because this Georgian dude, he can hit, he can crack, he's got good leg kicks, he's got good power, he's a big guy. I mean, both of these guys are big guys. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see Lopez knocked out for a second time. And it's plus 280 at the moment for a knockout on Sanini. And I don't think that's a terrible shot. Honestly, I was thinking about playing it myself, but I think Lopez can crack him on the feet as well. But I also think he has massive grappling upside. So for sure, I'm picking Lopez as an outright pick. But there's no way I'm laying juice on this dude, seeing what he did on the Contender Series last time. Like, he was minus 600. He couldn't cover that minus 600. In my opinion, he could be minus 600 in that spot. But mentally, he didn't allow it to be so. And then on the regional scene, he could have been minus 1,000 and he didn't allow it. So now he's minus 250. Is he going to allow it? You're kind of banking on this dude's IQ. I'm not really in the business of doing that, especially not a big juice. If he was plus 200, I don't mind if he's a bit of an idiot, because whatever, maybe he's not an idiot today when I'm playing plus 200, but minus 250, we don't play idiots at minus 250. And, that's no real diss. Idiot is it's a visceral word. So there's no diss to Lopez. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that his fight IQ has shown to be lacking multiple times in the past. And we don't bet those guys at chalk. So the next fight is Meng Ding versus Rami Ahmed. This is a weird fight. Both fighters are not great, in my opinion. I don't think either fighter is UFC level, to be honest. Maybe they could get 1 or 2 fights in the UFC and win, but I feel like whoever wins this fight is probably going to be cut from the UFC in maybe a year or 2. There is potential improvement upside for Meng Ding. I think he's 29 years old, but I mean, he's still 29. It's not like he's a spring chicken. Rami Ahmed is actually older, I believe. Let me have a look. Rami Ahmed is, he's 33, but he hasn't fought in 2 years. So, maybe potential improvement upside just because he hasn't fought in a while. But this is a weird one, guys, because I actually believe that Rami Ahmed has, he's a more skillful striker than this Meng Ding dude. Meng Ding likes to have an outside kickboxing fight, but Rami Ahmed is actually a very good outside kickboxer. He's a Taekwondo black belt, and if you don't pressure these Taekwondo guys, they just kick your leg out. He's got multiple leg kick TKOs, but he's been fighting the bottom of the barrel, like really, really poor fighters. But at the end of the day, even if he has been fighting these fighters, he's got a high-level Taekwondo background. And if you let these Taekwondo fighters jump on the outside and just play their kicking game, they're gonna win, because they're too well versed in that game. So, if Meng Ding doesn't pressure here, which is not really his game from what I've seen, he's probably gonna lose this fight by decision. Now, the line is set at 1.5 rounds, which I don't really agree with. I honestly would set it at 2.5 rounds. So that tells you what you need to know in terms of where I'm leaning on the over and under. And then I also think that, stylistically, this is a good fight for Ahmed, but the guy's been out for 2 years. He's 33 years old. He's been fighting absolute dog shit competition. Like, he's fighting people who are quitting on leg kicks where they're not even quitting because the leg kicks are so painful, because you can see it on their face. They're just quitting because they don't know how to deal with the leg kicks. It's like they've never taken a leg kick before in their life. Like, I've taken leg kicks in sparring
and been rendered almost unable to walk. I've had the calf kick completely go, and I didn't quit straight up. But these fighters, I mean, these fighters are like on the same level as any random guy with an amateur record in the gym. Who these guys are fighting, who Ahmed's fighting in his last two. They're literally 2-2 pros. They're literally the fighters. They're like average gym fighters. They're not even good gym fighters. So, I don't have any qualms about saying that they basically quit in those fights. It's nothing to do with the skill set. But I do think that the leg kick path is here for Rami Ahmed. I also think that the knee path is here, because I think Ding is going to have to step into range at some point. And Ahmed knows fighters are going to try to close range on him because he's a taekwondo fighter, right? He's not a grappler. He's a taekwondo fighter. He knows fighters are going to come in. And I've seen a couple of times him show some good weapons when fighters are trying to walk in on him. Like I've seen him hit fighters with uppercuts, drop them. I've seen him step in knee. He knows the fighters are going to do it. So I could definitely see him catching Ding on the way in, or I could just see Ding letting him kick his leg apart and just staying on the outside, not really knowing what to do. Ding has the grappling upside here. Ding has the durability upside massively, in my opinion, the cardio upside. There's a reason why he's a favorite here, but I would make this fight like a pick 'em because, intangibly, Ding is the side all day long. Much better level of competition, even though it ain't been that good. Durability upside, well-roundedness upside. He can win via striking. He can also win via takedowns, grappling. And, he's younger and intangibly, etc., etc., etc. But I think stylistically, it's an Ahmed fight, right? So, I think that kind of even things out on the money line. So, yeah, I'm going to actually pick Ahmed to win this fight. We'll see how it goes, though. Yeah, and shout out to my man Mushroom in the chat. I can see my man Dan Levy. I'm going to be going live with Dan Levy. He's just broke the news right now. I'm going live with Dan. Jacob saying, am I doing a video for 305 this weekend? So I've done one with Clint yesterday. Hilarious one. Go and watch the last 10 minutes if you haven't, because I'm literally falling asleep on this sofa. Number 2 is I'm doing a 305 breakdown with Dan Levy right after I get off this, if he's around. Or maybe we'll have to do it at 3 p.m. No, okay, so we're doing a breakdown at 2 p.m. ET, which is literally probably like an hour and a half after I get off this. Maybe we make it... Okay, it's pre-recorded. Oh, sweet, pre-recorded, so we can kind of do it whenever. So yeah, that's going to be released later tonight. I'm going on half the battle with my man Dan. And then later in the week, I might do my own 305 breakdown. I don't really know. I'll decide. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do a Parlay Madness or something. I haven't decided. I'm quite busy this week. I'm on guests on podcasts and stuff. But yeah, we'll go to the main event. Hungry Dana saying, James, you're finally streaming from home. I hadn't seen your living room in years. No, this is not my home. I'm not staying at home right now. My home is in New Zealand, brother. My home is in New Zealand right now. I'm in London, England. That is my home, really, but I haven't lived there for many years. But I grew up there, grew my entire life there, was born and raised there. But the family home that I grew up in is no more. So this is not the home I grew up in. This is a place where... But it's quite far from where I grew up, actually. This is someone else's living room. I'm not going to tell you who, but it's someone else's. It's not mine. Who else we got? Do it live, Dan. They wanted to do it live. Dan saying, if I do it live, you won't get that Scarface intro, or let's get down to business. Yeah, we need that. Let's get down to business. All right, let's go. Let's go, boys. Main event of the evening, Mansour Abdel Malik and Wes Schultz. Just from knowing Dan Levy, I feel like he's really going to like this Abdel Malik fighter. Not necessarily picking him to win. I don't know about that, or saying he's value because he's a big favorite. But I just feel like this guy's a scary dude, fucking physical beast, knockout power, strong wrestler, American dude. I feel like Dan's going to like this guy. I don't know why. I just have a hunch that he will. And I do as well, right? How could you not? Mansour Abdel Malik looks like he could be some type of superstar, like he's very physical. Like I said, knockout power. Dan saying I'm right. Huge potential if they build him up. 100% agree, man. Definitely. The issue I have with Malik is that he's just so untested. He's untested. I don't know if he's been out of round 1, and I definitely didn't watch any tape where he's been out of round 1. I'll tell you that. I only watched a couple. Yeah, he's never been out of round 1 before. He's a wrestler, probably has good cardio out of round one, who knows? Absolutely, who knows, right? Because these people always say, oh, he's a wrestler and that means he's going to have good cardio outside of round one. That's not how things work. Isaac Bulgarian, this guy was meant to be the second coming of Jesus Christ. The guy died in round 3. He died, he actually died. So it doesn't always mean that, right? So I haven't watched any breakdowns for this week, but I feel like people are going to be like, yeah, he's a wrestler, so he's going to have great cardio. I don't know, man. Like, the guy's never been out of round 1. He's very untested. Where's Schultz? He's a dog, bro. The opponent's a dog. He's definitely not as physical. He's definitely not as strong. He's definitely not as powerful. He doesn't have the same punch power, but he's been out of round 1 many times. He's got late finishes before. He's got an extensive amateur record as well as a pro record. He's got way more fights than this Malik guy. He's a good wrestler in his own right. He's a scrambly guy. He's got very good cardio. He's got good submissions. I'll tell you something about Malik. This guy, he's not a good jiu-jitsu player. He's either not a good jiu-jitsu player or he just hates jiu-jitsu, because he had so many chances to take the back in some of these fights I've seen, and he just didn't take the back. It seems like he doesn't know how to put a hook in. This guy's a wrestler through and through. Like, instead of putting the hook in, he's just going to fucking body lock you and try and punch you with the other hand. He's not putting no hooks in. Whereas Wes Schultz, he's jumping on the back. He's going from back transitioning to armbar from the back. The guy's a bit of a madman. He's giving up the back to go to armbar. So this guy is a walk-in submission. And what I mean by that is, like, he's going to submit guys. I think this guy, Wes Schultz, has a good chance to win against Abdul Malik. I'll tell you that now. But Malik has massive, massive potential in the sport, right? It could very well be that Malik's going to come out here, knock out Schultz in round 1, 30-second knockout. Everyone's going to say he's the next big thing. And he goes on, he gets built up correctly. He learns the striking, he learns the grappling, in which he's lacking, which I've mentioned. And he goes on to be, a top 20 fighter in the UFC. I truly believe that he has that potential. And I don't think that can happen for Wes Schultz. But at this point in their career, it's only potential, right? And Wes Schultz is more seasoned. All of the upside I've already said. I'm not going to repeat myself. I don't see how you can make Wes Schultz a massive underdog, because it's all speculation. And I guess at the end of the day, betting is just speculation. But this is more speculation than I believe you're allowed. You can't speculate this guy to be minus 350 based on what we know. Wes Schultz never been finished on the pro scene. He got finished the amateur one time, but that was a long time ago. Yeah, I don't know, man. I like Wes Schultz as the underdog in this spot. A gun to my head, who's going to win the fight? I mean, I'm probably going to pick the fucking big scary dude who's never been out of round 1, who's no one's can do anything to him, except for when he got wobbled badly. So, he did get hurt in that fight. I think it was his last fight or the fight before that. So, yeah, I'm going to pick this big fucking massive dude who's knocking everyone out in round 1 over the guy who's getting submissions, arm bars, and, making it to round 3 in some fights and getting grapple fucked by Dylan Booker. I'm going to pick that guy. But I ain't going to bet that guy. And I might even bet the other dude, because the odds are so wide. So, yeah, that's my prediction on the fight. I think Abdul Malik is too big of a favorite here. And I think Wes Schultz is the only fighter you can back. I also don't mind the over. But obviously, the over correlates to Wes Schultz. So if you back the over, most likely Wes Schultz is showing value on his money line. So my read on the fight is that Wes Schultz is too big of an underdog. And then automatically my read is going to be the over, if I believe that. Because Wes Schultz is not really a guy who's going to run through someone early. He can do it, but I don't think he will. So, yeah, not much more to say about that, guys. That's the entire breakdown for Dana White's Contender Series 2024 Week 1. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back with Dan Levy tonight on Half the Battle. UFC 305 breakdown. I'll probably do another breakdown maybe later on in the week. And that's it, boys. Not much more to say. I'll see you later tonight if you watch Half the Battle. Good luck on your bets.